WrestleZone Unfiltered right here, part of the All Elite Zone podcast network. Joining me, the boss, the network behind the network. Connor, how you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. It's been a few weeks since we've been on here, but I'm doing pretty good.
We only took 1 week off. I know time flies when you're having fun, though. Yeah, we missed last week. NCAA tournament going on. Deshaun's already with us. How you doing this evening, sir? And you know, all kinds of good little stuff to talk about. We got the road to WrestleMania coming up, and we got Dynasty coming up April 6th, I believe. It's next weekend, right? Not this
Yeah,
weekend. Next,
April
Dynasty
6th.
next weekend. And we'll cover some of that, and not too much to go over quite yet, but we're getting there. And I'll kick it off with a couple of things. Now, before anybody gets their panties in an uproar, I am not political. I don't pick sides. I think they're all full of shit, and they don't really care about any of us. That's just my take on both sides of the equation. However, former vice presidential candidate Tim Walz come out and said that he thought he could kick just about every Republican's ass out there, and then he was met with a response from the mayor of Knox County, Glenn Jacobs, a.k.a. one half of the Brothers of Destruction, Kane. That's had me giggling for a week and a half now because of they'll show clips. If you're on TikTok or Instagram and you watch some of those clips, they'll show Tim Walz looking like he's 95 years old. Yeah, I think I could take every Republican. I could kick their ass if I wanted to. And then they flashed a 6'10", 330-pound Kane, who has offered to meet him in a wrestling ring with a non-scripted outcome. Ah, the joy of politics. But anyway, did you see that, Connor? Did you see any of that shit?
Yeah, I didn't see it, but I heard it from somebody. We were talking about it. I feel like that would be more of a Dana White thing. It's going to be on script. Well, I don't know. Maybe we could do a brawl for all. That would be pretty fun. I'd pay to see that.
Yeah, that's like I said, Tim Walz. I mean, if he looked like Dana White or a couple of the other ones out there, some of the younger ones that are in good shape, it might have been one thing, but like I said, I don't know how old Tim Walz is, but he looks like he's well on up there. So for him to come out and say that, and before you say something like that, you might want to take a look at the other side and see who you're talking to. You're not just talking to Trump and Vance and some of the other ones you see on TV every day.
Like Kane's a pretty big dude. I've seen him in person, and he's more than just a mayor. He is. He's Kane. He's done a lot of horrible things in his career, kayfabe wise, of course. He's the only mayor probably to chokeslam someone, to win championships and stuff like that. So,
well, not only that, if you look at Kane, you see a lot of them when they retire. I mean, they don't get like horribly out of shape, but you can tell they don't hit the gym. And Kane's posting pictures all the time from gyms and stuff. And I mean, he's six pack. He looks in better shape now than he did when he was wrestling all the time. He's probably down. He's probably instead of 330, 340 like he was when he was wrestling, I'd say he's probably somewhere between the 280 and 300-pound mark because he's gotten so cut and so lean. But yeah, he's in tremendous shape for he's probably I'd venture to say he's in his mid to late 50s. I would venture, but regardless, like I said, just the joy of politics, and there's so much with it that goes hand in hand with pro wrestling with the promos they like to cut on each other nowadays. And so David, yep, Kane is great, and this has been some funny shit for me to just watch, sit back and pay attention to. So we'll get to the road to WrestleMania here in just a minute. We'll do a recap. It looks like I don't cringe very often, but watching Dynamite 2 weeks ago, and that shit with John Moxley and Adam Copeland, I did when those spikes went in his back, I was just like, oh dear God, and I actually turned my head. I mean, it's one thing for them to bleed. It's one thing to bust them open the hard way. It's something for the thumbtacks to be, all over their back and whatever, don't bother me none. But like I said, when I saw that and they were trying to, that they were having a hard time getting that out of his back, I actually turned my head. Connor, did you see that?
Yeah, I did see that with the spike. I forget what Edge calls it, but
Spike, that's what he calls it.
Yeah, that was pretty. I didn't watch it live, but I've seen the clip of it, and it was pretty bad. It wasn't your normal spot in a wrestling match. You would see that maybe at CZW. Like you wouldn't see that in ECW either. Like they did hardcore stuff, but not to that extent. Like you would see that like deathmatch wrestling or stuff. But yeah, it was that could have gone horribly wrong.
Well, yeah, that's what I was getting to. I mean,
Yeah,
you know that could have, I mean, if he had, I don't know, I'm at a loss for words when it comes to that. Simply because, like I said, they were actually put the camera on it for a second of them trying to get it out, and
yeah.
they were having a hard time getting it out. And I mean, that could have, if he would have landed, a quarter of an inch one way or the other, that could have punctured a kidney. Could have I mean, it could have went too far. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you'll never, very rarely will you hear me say that went too far, and that one that goes back to where I think we've all had an issue with Tony Khan of not being able to tell the performers no, just letting them go out there and do what they want to do. And is the Penta spot where Dante Martin's leg got broke in the ladder match, off the chairs and the light and through the off the ladder through the table. I thought that spot was unnecessary, and I mean that could have broke a lot more than just an ankle, on something that high up. And then you got, I mean, I don't even, I'm at a loss for words for it.
Yeah, that was. I mean, I can't remember the last time we've seen something like that. I feel like we've seen it before. Maybe at Double or Nothing last year when they had Darby Allin like just hanging from the damn ceiling or whatever. It was upside down and uh, what else? I feel like there's been some other stuff.
The other one that really got me, that really kind of, that I was just like, ugh, was when Swerve and Paige did their cage match, and
That's right.
he put the needle in Swerve's mouth. I didn't think, it just was it did nothing for the match as far as that, just to make people cringe, or what the hell is wrong with these people. But like I said, I don't know how else to word it. It's just, you know, Tony, it's not a fan thing. It's not a, it's a personal thing as far as, take care of your performers, man. You know,
Yeah.
they're, people like Moxley are their own worst enemy. And that's not a knock on him. That's just, I mean, you don't, do you want somebody to die on live TV? Because if it goes wrong, that's good. That's what could happen.
And it was reported. I seen it somewhere that Moxley has. I'm not shocked that he has creative control. Probably people like Jericho and Mercedes and people like that probably have a lot to say. So it was probably his idea. Tony Khan okayed it, and that's what happened.
Well,
But that's
the
going
difference in, a lot of people don't like what Jericho is doing these days. I mean, it's, he changes with, he
at
tries to
least he
stay
doesn't do
relevant,
stuff
but
this bad.
at least Jericho will lay down. I mean,
At
you know,
least, at least he doesn't do stuff like that. I mean, he's gotten Blade before in Thumbtacks, but I don't think he's ever done anything that.
no,
Uh,
I don't think Jericho would even want to do something like that.
no,
That's strictly a John Moxley thing, I think there, but because, I can guarantee you that Adam Copeland was probably like, well, you can do it, but I'm not. I mean,
probably.
you do what you want to do, buddy, but I'm not doing that. So
Yeah, that I don't see just a lot of people taking that in wrestling. Maybe like people like Nick Gage or Moxley or Eddie Kingston, guys like that. Uh,
I can see Eddie Kingston doing it. Yeah, I can see him do it, but he's after that was the last pay-per-view when he come out on Twitter and was highly critical of the company.
yeah, yeah, he did. He was like he didn't see a spot uh, for himself in the company anymore. I don't know if that's like a kayfabe thing or a real life thing, but Eddie Kingston doesn't have any filter. If he says what he feels.
Yeah,
So
he don't hold back, and it's you know, but last night on Dynamite. Well, I actually will go 2 weeks ago as well. That's the one thing that can, I'd have to look at the exact match, but oh, that's what it was. They had that world title match, street fight, but the main event was Megan Bain versus Chris Statlander, and I'm just like, what?
should
I
have been
mean,
the worst.
you will never hear me knock the women being in the main event, because God knows if the story is good and they deserve it, and that's what the people are interested in at the time, by all means, put them in the main event. But when you've got a world title match and you're still, Megan looks great. She's got a great entrance. She's got a great presence about her. Um, they're still building her up. They let her pin Tony in the main event last night, which, was always a good way to set up Ric Flair's next challenger back in the 80s. He'd get pinned in a tag team or a non-title match, to set up his next challenger. But, like last night, I wasn't mad at the, they were the main event, but the week before, when you have Chris versus Megan in a show where you have not only that title match, but that spot that you knew you were going to do. I don't know. It's just, it's you need to learn how to format the show better, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think especially like the world title. I think it should be depending on the pay-per-view. I think for almost all the time on a pay-per-view or any show, if you're having a world title on the line, it should be the main event. Or if it's like the Intercontinental title, for example, it's the main event for like a weekly show. I think the big title, the World title, should be the main title of the entire company. So the last match on the show, that probably should have been reversed. Not that anyone would have stayed to see it, but yeah, I think the world title should always be last. Like I guess I'm kind of an old school guy with that, but it's just real, like I feel like you should want your main title to feel the most important on the show, and having it in the main event makes it feel important. I feel like.
No, I agree, and one of the things that's bugged me for years, the WWF did it for a long time, and then WCW actually started doing it once they got once the Monday Night Wars went into full effect, and they were basically trying to out WWF to WWF, but is during a title match as well when they bring the champion out first. I don't care what title it is, but especially the world title. Just because the challenger, let's just go back in 15 years, the challenger might have been Cena going against JBL. Well, is Cena more over than JBL? Of course he was. But JBL was a champion. In my opinion, the only time the NWA and early WCW did that, if the champion came out first, they would always say it was at the champion's request. He wanted to enter first. But like I said, if you have a title match or hell, even a non-title match, I don't care if it's TV title, US title, international title, it don't matter. If you got a champion in the match, the champion is the champion, and to me should come out last. And that's the old school part of me. But we talk about the last pay-per-view with what happened with Christian Cage cashing in that briefcase. But are y'all seeing what I'm seeing as far as them setting up the E&C reunion? You had the patriarchy getting pissed off at Christian because he didn't tell him what he was doing. And then during the title match last week with Copeland and Moxley, they came out and interfered, but no Christian. And it's very obvious that FTR is getting ready to turn heel. You'll probably see that at Dynasty with that 6-man tag. And so to me, they're setting this up for the Edge and Christian reunion. Connor, what do you think?
Yeah, I think they'll be by next year's All In. They would have already been back together, I think. And I hope they're probably going to retire together. That's probably what's going to happen as a tag team, and they might win the tag titles from the Hurt Syndicate, maybe. I don't know. But for Edge and Christian's last match, I really like to see them against FTR at Wembley Stadium. I think next 2026 they'll be going back to London, I'm assuming. So maybe by All In 2026, that's their last match together, and they go against FTR. I don't think they can hold it off that long, a year. But it really depends when they decide to put them back together, because I did see a report that Killswitch, which Soros is cleared to come back, or is almost cleared to come back. So
I saw the same report that he's actually cleared. So
maybe when he comes back, he attacks Christian, and then maybe Edge gets back with Christian, and Edge and Christian versus Killswitch and Nick Wayne, or Kip Sabian, or either one. But I think that's inevitable to happen, Edge and Christian.
Now that's honestly Nick Wayne and Kip Sabian. I would not mind them seeing put together as a tag team and being pushed, because again, we haven't seen Private Party since they lost the titles.
No.
And that's one of my biggest issues with Tony and the way he books his shows. He's honest about it. Also, it's a week to week thing, but I mean, you'll go, like I've said it before. I mean, people will come out and I'm like, damn, I forgot they were there. I mean, it's like, and all these Ring of Honor people he uses, and the one that he should have been using, in my opinion, has been Athena Ember Moon. I mean, I've always liked her since she was in NXT as Ember Moon and then came up to the main roster. I thought they were stupid to release her, but she's phenomenal. She's got a great look. She's great in the ring. She's got a good promo, and she's been Ring of Honor Women's Champion for 2 years. And what have we seen her maybe like 5-6 times on AEW TV? Maybe 10 at the most. And now they're setting up that match between her and Sasha Banks, and and it's like, you talk about creative control. It's like, I hope this is the one that Mercedes will finally lay down for, and set up a good feud between the two of them. Because the last thing I want to see is Mercedes walking around with another title. I mean, Billy Starks 2 weeks ago, and that one move, it looked like she almost killed her. Billy Starks with Monet coming off that rope with that flip. If y'all were watching that, she was about that far away from landing on her neck the wrong way. But I really like Athena, and ROH Deshaun is very watered down, and that's why I'm aggravated that they haven't used Athena in a better way. She would be great for TV, and God bless Mark Briscoe. I love Mark Briscoe, but how many times do we really need to see him over the course of a month? I mean, he's been on both shows just about every week. And it's like, you have so many different people that you could be doing things with. And, with as beloved as the Briscoes were, he's always going to get a pop when he comes out. When that music hits, those fans are going to clap. And, so, use some more of these people.
Yeah, I think I would not be surprised if Mercedes beats Athena. I would not be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised, but
and her have another title. But speaking of people like like Private Party losing the titles and not being seen again, it's pretty much. I think I could see it happen at Dynasty. Tony Storm and Megan Bayne for the title. This might be a similar situation to Tony and Deanna. I have a feeling when Deanna lost, I think she got 2 shots, and she lost both, of course. And then once she lost the title shot, she was just a jobber, really. I mean, haven't really done much with Deanna. I mean, they put her with Ty Valkyrie. They teased a faction. They're on TV 1 minute, then you won't see them again until 3 weeks later. I hope they don't do that with Megan Bayne, because AEW does that a lot. Like, if someone gets built up really, really good and they go for a title and they lose, then you don't see them hardly at all.
Yeah, Deanna Purrazzo is one I was actually referring to when I say I'll see somebody on TV and be like, wow, I forgot they were there.
And that's ridiculous, because I would much rather see Deanna than Mercedes, to be honest. I like Deanna a lot. She's really good. She's a very great storyteller. You guys remember her feud with Tony? That was a really good feud. Mercedes doesn't do any of that. In my opinion, she does not. But I don't know. Hopefully, they don't do the same thing with Megan Bayne, because she does have a good look and she is really good. So hopefully they don't do another Deanna situation again.
Yeah, and there's also been a report released that Mariah May's contract is up in July, which, people are speculating on what she may do. And, will she go? Will she stay? And, Stephanie Vaquer is a great example, because, I know Tony made her an offer, and in all reality, he probably offered her more money than the WWE did. But she's said on a few occasions that was her dream, to go to WWE, and she wants to be in a WrestleMania. And so I guess it just, Mariah, they went back, some different websites have went back and screenshotted some of her tweets from before she joined AEW about wanting to be in a WrestleMania one day, and this, that, and the other. So I mean, I'll be interested to see what she does. I mean, that'll if she does leave, I think it would be a great gain for NXT. But I think it would be a major loss for AEW's women's division as well.
Yeah, I've seen some stuff that she's a big Triple H fan. I don't know if she still is, but she was. I mean, golly, she loved Triple H. Like, she was supporting the company the darkest days when I couldn't stand to watch. In the pandemic era, like this was just like 2022. Like some of these tweets, like that's 3 years ago. So I mean, Tony might offer more money, but it depends what her goals are. You know, Stephanie Valkyria, that was her dream to go to WWE, nowhere else. I mean, going to AEW was a stepping stone to get to WWE. She had that match, she had one match in AEW with Mercedes, I believe, and then she like WWE shortly after signed her really quick. So we might see a similar situation if that's what she wants to do. I'm curious where they would start Mariah May. Would they start on the main roster or NXT?
From what I've heard, this was about, you know, 6 or 7 months ago, that the majority of the people they're going to bring in, you know, they're going to start the majority of them in NXT. You know, and because I don't think Julia or Stephanie, either one, needed to be in NXT for wrestling skills per se. But they say the main reason for NXT, and where people get so upset about, oh my, why'd you start them in NXT? It's to teach them how WWE does TV.
Yeah,
So that they know what they're doing once they get to the main roster. Maybe not, you know, skill wise, but, you know, I mean, you know, if you've been watching Penta, you know, they brought him straight to the main roster, but he's also, you know, the high spots are not nearly what they were in AEW. I just think they've given him a better presentation of what they, you know, what he got in AEW. But that goes back to their production levels. And, you know, you talk about Mariah May and some of these other people, you know, in 35, 40 years, if AEW is still around and they've been able to build up All In to, you know, close to an equal of WrestleMania, then you're going to see kids growing up, you know, where their dream is to compete at All In. And so that's not a knock to a 5-year-old company. It's, you know, I mean, WWE's been around for, you know, forever and a day. And WrestleMania started out one night, and, you know, and then it turned into, you know, the WrestleMania week, even before it became a 2-night show. And, you know, the Raw after Mania has become a big thing. And now you got it 2 nights. And so, you know, would I like to see AEW stick around and get to that point? Absolutely. I mean, it's good for the business. It's good for the performers.
yeah,
Um, but it's not a knock to anybody that's, you know, since they made the choice that they wanted to become a professional wrestler, that their dream was to be in WrestleMania. And I'm sorry, you know, Kenny and the Bucks and people like that can tell you that, you know, they don't care about it. Yeah, I think it's a lie. You know, they might not want to go work for WWE per se, but, you know, if they sit there and tell you with a straight face that they wouldn't want to have one WrestleMania match, I think they'd be lying to not only themselves but to anybody they were talking to.
yeah. I was watching Kenny Omega last night on AEW. Watched a little bit of it. I was kind of thinking, you know, what else? I mean, he could win the world title again. What else is there for him to do in AEW? Like he's going against all the top names. He went against Ospreay, Moxley. He's went through everybody. For me, like the main one in the elite to go to WWE and have that Mania moment would probably be Kenny Omega. Uh, you know, he is a big star. He's a big star without even going to WWE. But you know, having that Mania moment. I mean, sometimes like once you make it to WWE, you can finally say, and you may go to WrestleMania, you can finally say that you made it. That's kind of what Bully Ray was elaborating on Busted Open one time with Penta, and why he was so emotional because he finally got to say he made it. WWE's been around for so long that it is essentially the big leagues. I mean, it's not knocking AEW. It's just the honest truth. They've been the company that's been around the longest. So an event like Mania is going to feel like this is the Super Bowl of wrestling, the World Series of wrestling. So
Well,
uh,
and I've said before, you know, just because I think Penta has been presented better there, you know, I've said it several times. You know, Swerve has been presented much better in AEW. Tony
yeah,
Storm has been presented much better in AEW. I don't think MJF would be presented well in WWE because I think it would be a watered down version unless they go full blown, you know, F this, F that on Netflix. You know, I think he's better off where he is. You know, Bobby Lashley anywhere he goes, but they presented Shelton Benjamin in a much better light since coming to AEW. So that's not always, hey, that WWE does this better. That's not always the case. It's a case by case basis for me. And, you know, I would be interested to see what if Mariah May does go. what they do with her, because AEW, they put her in a pretty prime position. So yeah, and I would be interested to see how that works out. Because like I said, AEW's presented some people better than WWE did, and I know that was a Vince thing versus a Triple H thing when all that shit was going on. But I know Triple H wanted Swerve back, and Swerve said in an interview, he said, I saw the phone ringing, I didn't answer the call. And I'm telling you, for All In, I'm hoping like hell that Swerve wins his title back at Dynasty, and then we get Ospreay winning the Owen Hart Cup, and we get Ospreay Swerve one more time on a big stage like that, because Ospreay come out and said it. He's like, he wanted to put Swerve over and get people quit talking about him needing to be a world champion as soon as he walked in the door, and kudos to him for that. But I would I'd like to see that rematch and just get the damn title off Moxley, because this Death Rider shit's just I've had it with it.
I think a lot of people's had it. I would love to see Swerve to win it. That's what they should do, depending on what Moxley wants to do. Let's say that, because whatever Moxley wants to do, I think Tony will let it go.
In my opinion, the Death Riders have only benefited one person.
Moxley.
No, your girl.
Yeah, unfortunately so. And she's going to be in a freaking match.
She was, she hadn't done anything, and then all of a sudden she appears with Moxley, and then they've kept her off the microphone last night. With her getting into it with Willow with the body shots. I mean, it's kind of stuff she can do. So I think if it's benefited anybody, it's benefited her, because before the Death Riders, I mean, and with the Death Riders, Wheeler, Claudio and Pac, or Pac, whatever, are in the same position they were in before the Death Riders.
Yeah, like they've all been.
With Penta leaving, Death Triangle was over. We go from Death Triangle to the Death Riders, but I think Marina Shafir's been the one person that the Death Riders have actually benefited.
I'm curious to see when this group is over where she goes, because they got her in a match next week. Her and Moxley,
that mixed tag with Swerve and Willow.
I apologize to anyone that has to watch that match. If it is bad, I warned you. We'll see though. She hasn't wrestled in 2023, at least on AEW television. And she's probably had independent dates, but on AEW television, it's been about 2 years. So maybe she's improved, maybe not. Maybe it's even worse than what I expected, but we'll see. But yeah, I mean, I guess Wheeler Yuta, like, he's been in a main event type role now, but I mean, just about everybody in that group was already over before they were in the group, like Pat, Claudio, Moxley. Yeah, I hate to say it, but not on her part, Moxley's part, but it has benefited her a little bit.
Yeah, like I said, Dynasty. I'm actually interested to see Dynasty, because I'm just hoping to God that Swerve takes that title. Are they doing any Owen Hart matches at Dynasty or no?
That's normally what they do. Or when I used to really watch AEW, like, they would have the tournaments on Dynamite, Collision, and then at Double or Nothing they would crown the winners.
Okay, but you got that, and you got Moxley and Swerve. You're going to get that they're talking about trying to get this worked in with Mercedes and Athena by then. That's only going to give us Saturday and Wednesday to get that worked in by next weekend. But there's a lot, like I said, a lot of interesting stuff going on. I did say that as soon as Christian cashed in that contract and lost, I said that's the setup for the two of them getting back together. And then with everything going on, I think they're going into that storyline. So I'll be interested to see that as well. So any other AEW thoughts here, Connor?
Let's see, what else happened last night? I watched bits and pieces of it last night. I know they teased MJF joining the Hurt Business. I wish they would just do Hobbs. Like, if they're not getting Cedric Alexander, Hobbs is the perfect person for that group, and he would benefit from it, because they're doing nothing with him right now. He went against Mark Davis. It was just a match to be a match.
Well, yeah, Mark Davis is a prime example of what about AEW I don't like. I was even actually bitching about that last night, because he comes out when he comes back, he comes out to help Will. Then he does a couple of tag team matches with Will, and then there's no turn, there's no that. He just comes out with Don Callis one day, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, they've done stuff like that. But I think Hobbs will benefit from joining the Hurt Business. they might get Cedric Alexander. I'm curious to see where that goes with Cedric. He did say today on Chris Van Vliet's podcast that he would be interested in going to AEW. So
Is he under a 90-day no compete, or did his contract just expire?
I think it just expired because he's going to be at WrestleCon, I believe. So he would have had to have been. He would have had to have just had a contract expire because he wouldn't be able to be at WrestleCon if he was still under like a 90-day thing. So
Now, I also did see where Gail Kim just left TNA, so
yeah.
I'm wondering where she'll land. I've always liked Gail Kim, so.
And TNA fired a few people, Gail Kim and a few others. Gail Kim, I was really surprised about. She's been there for a long time.
Long time, yeah.
And apparently, a lot of the locker room isn't really happy about it, mainly the women's division, because I would imagine that she helped the women out a lot. I don't know. I think she would be a big help in WWE for the women's division, at least in the main roster. I don't know how that would go, but it wouldn't hurt to have a woman producer just for the women in WWE. Or maybe she goes to AEW. I don't know if that's going to work out. Just from a lot of veteran women's experiences in AEW, it just seems like they don't want to coach for the women. Like Medusa talked about it. There's been a few other ones I can't remember.
Well, if I was somebody like Gail Kim or Medusa, I wouldn't want to go. I mean, just for the simple fact of when you have a veteran like that knows what they're doing, and but then you've got, and I know I just don't like her. Mercedes Moné, for example, that has creative control. But if you listen to all these veterans, and Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard, hell, Jake Roberts is still there, and he said it multiple times. They don't, the locker room, the younger people there do not want to listen. They don't care what those guys and girls have to say. And so
I find that ridiculous. If I was wrestler, I would want to listen to any criticism whatsoever, like especially if it's from like Jake Roberts or Arn Anderson or Medusa or anybody, because there's always room to grow. I mean, if you're just good at one thing, CM Punk said it the best. It's you want to have all kinds of caps on you. So if your wrestling career is over, you got so many things to fall back on. Kind of like Samoa Joe, he was doing ring announcing, or not ring, but commentary. There's so many things you can do in wrestling that it's good to explore other things in the business. I heard Jake Roberts say one time that he tried giving someone some criticism in AEW, and they basically told him that they already have their contracts, so they don't need to listen to. That
would have been. Yeah, I remember the interview you're talking about. That would have came from my favorite one.
Who do you think said that to him?
Oh no, I know who said it to him because I've heard him say it in an interview. It was Adam Page.
That's who I thought it was the entire time. Because he said in open interviews that he doesn't listen to criticism. I mean, even if you don't agree with it, I mean, golly, like if I would have done that in wrestling, like when I was wrestling training, I probably would have never been allowed to come back, or I would have been punished and had to run the ropes for an hour. That's just how it is. You don't disrespect legends like that. But he was trained by Jimmy Valiant, Hangman Page was, so I'm surprised he has that mentality.
The Boogie Woogie School. I wonder, is that thing still open? I know he ran it for a long time.
I don't know. I've seen him wrestle. Do you know who Gary Valiant is? I don't know if that's his actual son or not. At least in the Memphis area, the Gary Valiant is his son. I don't think this is his real son, but I know there was like Johnny Valiant and a few others.
Handsome Jimmy and Luscious Johnny.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I mean, I've heard, a lot of those legends say that. So, I mean, for Gail Kim, if I was in that position, and she's married to that celebrity chef and she's made great money over her career, that she could still do Comic-Cons and stuff on and continue to make money if she wants to do that. But if Tony Khan called me, my exact response would be, well, I'm very interested, but what do you want me to do? Well, I want you to coach. Okay. Let me be more clear. I know Mercedes has creative control. So if I put together a match and she doesn't want to do what I tell her, why am I even there?
Yeah,
and he's not going to have an answer.
It'd just be at some point it'd just be a dead end. Like you're not accomplishing anything. I mean, I don't think anybody in the women's division has creative control except her. She's gotten like her own writer and stuff. I'm not sure if anyone else in the women's division has that, but in just in other interviews, like there's been a lot of other women just besides Mercedes to be, I don't know, very outspoken. I guess I don't know. There's a if anyone was listening to the Mephisto interview, she was there to be interviewed for a coaching job in AEW, but she never even got the interview. In a very unstructured locker room, I guess you'd say. If you listen to that interview, if you haven't, I definitely recommend going to see that if you haven't.
I saw bits and pieces of that a while back, and people basically come out and shit all over and said that's not what happened, blah 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 blah, and then and Britt Baker, if I remember correctly, was one of them that was very critical of that interview, and now look where she's at.
Yeah,
And,
and like other people have said the same thing, like not about the women's division, but overall the structure. I mean, too many people have said the same damn thing. So obviously there's some issues back there, but I don't know. I would just like to see Gail Kim going to the WWE Hall of Fame. I think she's deserved that. I've always liked Gail Kim. I think her best moments were in TNA, in my opinion. But she did do some stuff in WWE. She was women's champion. But I think she had her big moments in TNA. Like that, like I got to know Gail Kim more in TNA. But it's going to be interesting.
I know the WWE did, the bra and panty matches, the diva searches, the women in Playboy and stuff like that had the women of the company, that were, got celebrity status and stuff. But if you want to talk about strictly professional wrestling, the TNA knockout division is what put the women on that pedestal. And I think it's what got, what got the WWE going away from the divas to the wrestlers, because I mean, those women in early days of TNA, that knockout division was amazing.
Yeah, that's some good women. Mickey James started out there. Many people don't know that, but she started out in TNA.
Yep, as Alexis Lurie.
Yep, and then she was in OVW.
Part of Raven's Flock.
I remember that.
With Julio Gennaro.
I think Raven and Punk had a program on TNA.
Yeah,
I know they didn't Ring of Honor, but I think they had a brief thing in ROH. But I like everyone else to talk about who started the women's evolution. I mean, it strictly points to TNA. I mean, NXT kind of elevated it to another level for being in main events and stuff, but like the actual in-ring aspect of it, of not just being in bra and panties matches, it's gimmick matches. The TNA Knockouts division put it on another level. And then you've seen in WWE women like Mickey James, Beth Phoenix, like women that could actually wrestle and not just on their appearance, like Michelle McCool, Caitlin. There was a few of them. Once TNA started doing it, WWE kind of started changing a little bit.
Yeah, you're here your hardcore WWE fans say, no, it was Trish and Lita. Go back and look at what Trish and Lita had to go through. I mean
they were definitely
the bra and panty matches, Trish barking like a dog, the live sex scene with Edge on Raw. I mean, those women went through a lot before they got to those main event positions on Raw.
I mean, they were definitely a pioneer of the women's division in history. But it was just them two, really. It was. I mean, they had some good matches back in the day, but they were still not treated as seriously as women are now. They definitely helped out a lot, but I mean, they did have to go through just like anybody else back in those days, like Sable, Jacqueline. Who else was back in those days?
Well, you had Ivory, which was Tina Ferrari from Glow. If anybody can go back that far.
Sable.
She was Glow's version of Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, but speaking of women's wrestling, looks like WWE's going to they're bringing back Evolution at some point this year. So it's going to be interesting to see. I didn't like the first one. I really didn't. But hopefully this next one is a lot better.
Well, it's like the first couple of women's rumbles. I mean, they didn't have the roster they do now. And they had to bring back a lot of those, a lot of those older girls from back in the 90s with Kelly and, Michelle McCool coming back for that kind of stuff. who else they bring back?
A role like Trish Stratus.
Tori Wilson, bringing back Trish, bringing back Lita. They had to do that because the roster was not deep enough for a pay-per-view to get people interested in. And now I think it is. I mean, I told you before, they have so many good women, great women from all three brands that I think that, I don't think an all women's show is going to get the ratings that a Raw or SmackDown does, but I think it could come close to doing what NXT does.
At least on Netflix. Like Netflix has reported wanting more programming from WWE, so an all women's weekly show, it wouldn't be a bad idea because you got the two women's world titles, the two mid card titles, and the tag titles. You got NXT women's titles, so putting some of those titles on there wouldn't be a bad idea. They're like especially the women's tag titles, they're not really. They've kind of been lackluster since they brought them. So having a destination show, maybe might be a little bit more breathing room to create stories and stuff. So,
and if you're listed out there, if y'all decide to do that, and Stephanie Vaquera needs a sparring partner to practice that banging people's head into the mat move, I got you. I don't mind. I'll do it for free. Just call me.
Did you see Charlotte try doing that on SmackDown?
She's done it before. I've seen her do it before. Like if you go back and watch her matches from a couple of years ago, but she don't quite have the gluteus maximus and the thighs that Stephanie does to pull that off and make me want to get in the middle of it.
Yeah, this past Tuesday on NXT, she was really over. I think a lot of people are starting to like that move she does because every time she does it, the crowd pops.
Yeah. Well, that and I don't know that her whole presentation just gets my blood boiling. The horns, the Dark Angel, see. Look,
I personally like her a lot more than Julia, to be honest. I really think that when she comes to the main roster, that she's going to be very successful.
I think she will be, but I think Roxanne's going to get lost in the shuffle.
I don't know where she's been at. She was at Roadblock. She lost against Jordan Grace, and then they were teasing Bailey and her, but I don't know where that's really gone.
Yeah, I didn't. I did watch the two Stephanie matches on NXT. I didn't like the week before when they did Trick and Eddie Thorpe in the Underground. I didn't even watch that match.
Yeah, I don't really like the Underground. I mean, the aftermath to the match was really good. I thought Oba, Trick, and Evans, but the match itself, I've never really been a big fan of the Underground, like Raw Underground or NXT Underground. I've never been a fan of those matches. They even put them in the video game, but I don't like them. So,
well, and now just getting ready to the road for WrestleMania because we got started a little bit late here. We'll jump into that. And is it just me, or I don't know. I was excited to hear John Cena on the mic, and then it's just been a disappointment to me that him coming out the first couple of weeks and basically just instead of doing what heel Cena can do, he's crying like a little bitch. You used me, and I'm just like, oh God, okay, all right.
I thought the first week it was good, the promo. I really thought that they should have done some layers because he was gonna be the 3 weeks in a row game. The first week, this week, and we're gonna get him last week. It should have been in layers. The first promo was good, I thought, but he still didn't explain why he joined The Rock, why he sold his soul, why any of that. But I thought the first promo was good the first week, but the next week we needed a little bit more because we're going into Mania season, and keep in mind he was off TV for about 2 or 3 weeks after the Chambers, so it kind of fizzled out a little bit. So they really needed to continue the momentum, and I don't think they did that on Tuesday. The promo was fine, but he hasn't said a word to Cody. Well, he did say, "Hey, kid," and then Cody interrupted. But besides that, John Cena hasn't said anything to Cody. It's just been Cody talking to Cena, and then he just walks away. And we only have one more episode with Cena on Raw before Mania. Like, this is his very last appearance before Mania. I don't know how in the hell they're supposed to create excitement in one show because I feel like it's kind of fizzled out his heel turn. I mean, it was only going to go so far at some point.
Yeah, we're only about 23 days away, and what we've got so far. I've said it before, and I'll be honest with you, the match that I'm looking forward to most between confirmed matches and rumored matches is Punk, Rollins, and Reigns. I mean, that's the one I'm looking forward to right now. I mean, you know, I do think there's going to be more to the John Cena Cody Rhodes match than meets the eye. I think there's going to be something that happens there that surprises, and they're trying. I'll give them this. They're trying to get us interested in Gunther and Jey Uso. I just don't care.
And this last Monday, I feel like now it's next week what you need to do to make, because like this match with Gunther and Jim Uso kind of can up the stakes a little bit if they do it the right way. Gunther needs to demolish Jim Uso and somehow create a spot where Jey Uso is handcuffed to the ropes and Gunther's just
forced to watch. Yeah,
just beating the hell out of him. Like Jimmy Uso's busted open, beating the hell out of him, and make him watch. And then I feel that can get the feud a little bit more excited. Personally, I'm not looking forward to it, but if they did that, I would be a little bit more excited to see the match going into Mania. Io, Rhea, and Bianca, it's been pretty good so far. I'm curious to see what happens. It's pretty obvious that the match next Monday between Io and Rhea is going to happen in some kind of DQ. Bianca's the special guest referee. Then we get a triple threat match, most likely.
Yeah.
I did not expect Io to win the title back. I don't know if we've talked about that on here. It's only been a week since we've been on here, but it feels like it's been longer.
Yeah, no, it was just a week. We did for a brief minute, but I think I think we were all surprised. But because there was, and once she did, there was so many rumors online about, was Rhea hurt? Was she going to miss Mania this year? And I was shocked. I mean, because she had her up there for that second rope riptide, and looks at Bianca. I'll see you at WrestleMania, bitch. And then Io turns it and does her moonsault and 1, 2, 3. I was shocked.
I do think if you notice in the last 2 weeks, like Rhea and Bianca kind of like just forget about Io and they push her to the side, and I think that's gonna hurt them in the Mania match. That they're gonna do that in the match, and then Io is gonna pull a fast one and beat one of them. I hope that's what happens. I don't want to see Io as a transitional champion. I hope at Evolution, their pay-per-view, that Io goes against Stephanie Valkyria. I think that would be a really, really good match for an all-women's pay-per-view. But that match, Punk, and of course I'm excited for that. I hope Cena commits to a few more dates. He's going to be in Las Vegas on Saturday for a $25,000 meet and greet.
Yeah, I saw that.
And they're going to be doing SmackDown in Las Vegas on Friday, so he's already going to be there. Why not appear in Las Vegas for SmackDown? It was reported that The Rock is supposed to make one appearance with Cena. Maybe he appears in London. They got the Chicago show, SmackDown. I think last year The Rock made a surprise appearance in Chicago for the Road to WrestleMania, one of the shows before Mania. So maybe The Rock makes an appearance, but I think Cena should at least commit to one more Raw and one more SmackDown. Because 1 week I think if they do a promo battle and do a big Raw or something, or do something, I think they can create some excitement. But just like the last 2 weeks after Elimination Chamber, it's going to fizzle out. So you're going to have to do more things to keep interest. Cody just can't keep cutting promos over and over with no Cena there. So,
yeah, and another thing too, before we kind of jumped off the women's title, I'm hoping for a Bianca heel turn.
Me too.
And I'll tell you, because I don't know what they're going to do with the Street Profits, but they've been presented in my mind a lot better the past couple of months than they have been in years. I know people like Bianca's character, but to me, it's getting stale. Not nearly as stale as Naomi's had gotten. So this was well needed for her as far as the heel turn. I'm hoping we get Trinity Uso out of it and get rid of the Naomi shit. But I don't, maybe we will, maybe we won't. I don't know. The rumor has it that the Seth Roman and Punk match is going to be the main event of night one, which should tell you all you need to know about where people hold Jey Uso. I like Jey Uso. He's entertaining. This past Monday shows you though, but they're much better as a tag team than they are as singles. I never really thought I'd say, oh, I miss the Usos, but seeing them back in tag team action, Jay does good spots. He's not a good ring general, and Jimmy's about the same way.
Yeah,
actually, I think Jimmy's better in the ring personally, but that's my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I've been saying that for the past few weeks too. On SmackDown, he's put on quite a few good matches, and Jay can't put on the same quality matches as Jimmy. Like Jimmy's went against Andrade, Carmelo, LA Knight. He's in some tag team stuff. I thoroughly enjoyed his in ring more than Jay's, but they are better as a tag team, I think, personally. I mean, it's good that they're both kind of branching out to a single solo thing, but I think that they're better as a tag team. Like they put on better matches as a tag team. The New Day, the Bar, Hardys. There's some other teams I'm forgetting, but their match
Yeah,
on Monday kind of reminded me of the old Usos.
yeah, but going through these matches, it kind of cements what I said a couple of weeks ago. I'm interested to see some of them, but the excitement for me is just not there. Tiffany versus Charlotte had been rumored for a while, and we're getting that. I mean, but that just there's not been. I don't know. I don't know what my issue is with it this year. I don't know if it's them or if it's me, but I'll be interested to see the match. But you could put that on any pay per view. I feel with the way the build up's been done. Yeah, and yeah, Riley, I agree. I'm glad the Todd Profits won the tag titles too. I think Randy Orton versus Kevin Owens. I'm not sure if they're going to, if they're just going to keep this a straight match or it'll be some kind of gimmick match. But I think that'll be good as well. I do think at some point, I don't know if it'll be Mania, before or right after. I think you're going to get a Sammy heel turn and put him back with Kevin to where he just comes out there and tells Kevin you were right. About people used him and this, that, and the other. They haven't made it official yet, but Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest were kind of, looks like we're getting, don't care about that one. The rumored match for the Intercontinental title is Braun versus Penta versus Finn and Dominic. I know people are going to disagree with me on this one, but if that match happens, I'd love to see Dominic come out of that with that title, just for the crowd reaction alone. Jade and Naomi, we've talked about. I mean, again, with the storyline there, the match needs to happen. Is it a Mania match? Not in my opinion. Then AJ Styles and Logan Paul, that could be the sleeper match because Logan Paul always performs well, whether you like him or not. And AJ is still AJ.
Yeah.
And then the rumored match for the Intercontinental title is, Knight, Strowman, Fatu, and Hayes. Are we really put? I mean, I know you want to get people on the card, but it's like, that's the Intercontinental and U.S. title. We can't get a one-on-one match with people that can give us a good match for WrestleMania. And the New Day against the War Raiders is rumored, and then you've got another, what is it, 4 or 5? For the SmackDown titles, the Profits get Pretty Deadly, Motor City, DIY, and Los Garza. Is that going to be a ladder match? What the hell is it going to be?
I think since they've done a ladder match at the Royal Rumble, they should do a TLC match this time around. Well, no, they didn't. No, that was Cody and Kevin Owens at the Royal Rumble in a ladder match. So maybe they could do a ladder match. But I think they could still show if they did a ladder match.
And then the last rumored match, and I don't know, man. I got a kick out of this on Monday, but the last rumored match is Rey Mysterio versus El Grande Americano.
Yeah,
I laughed my ass off on Monday. Not only with the backstory that they gave him, the whole video presentation, and then what really got me was during the match was gracias. Oh, I was dying, man. Chad Gable's phenomenal, man. I don't, you like him or not, but I know I shit on a lot of the comedy spots that certain people do, but Gable and everybody didn't think Angle would fit in the way he did back there, and how the comedy just came natural to Kurt Angle, being a serious Olympian and stuff, and Gable's fell right into that. Gable's phenomenal.
I do hope at some point he's rewarded. He's put on a lot of good matches with a lot of top talent. He's put over people. He had a really good story with Sami Zayn last year, which should have had a better ending with Gable and Otis, but nonetheless, he's done a lot since Triple H is in charge. And even making a character like this, making the most out of it, it's pretty entertaining stuff. I hope he gets rewarded. He gets one singles title win. He said in an interview it's going to happen. I hope it does. I'm going to actually be meeting him at WrestleMania, and I'm going to tell him that. that he should have. No, I'm not gonna sit down on there. I'll say it uh, if he actually answers my question. But I really do hope that he gets rewarded. He's besides Punk, like he's one of my favorites to watch on a weekly basis. He
Yeah,
reminds me of
I always enjoy his segments, but you know
yeah,
that gracias that caught me off guard on Monday night. Like I said, the video package had me laughing hard enough as it was, and then
yeah.
then the
It looked
well
nothing like him in those photos. You
then
could tell it was AI generated, but it was really funny.
they
And
did the video package, and they did the skit back in the office with Adam Pierce where he's giving Adam Pierce the doctor's note and saying he can't wrestle, and then then they do that. You know, we'll see The Rock at WrestleMania. I don't care what anybody says. He tries to say he won't be there. He'll be there. Being in Las Vegas, that is where Steve Austin lives now. That's where he, he sold his Broken Skull Ranch in Texas and bought one and renamed it that in Las Vegas area. And then, one of the rumors that we hadn't really talked about is, with The Rock holding up his three fingers, that, what about Becky Lynch being the third person?
that'd be interesting. I've been thinking Seth Rollins might join. Maybe he would join, even though like he was very dead on that Cody shouldn't so assaulted The Rock. But Becky would be interesting. Having a female member in this group. We haven't seen her in a while, so
Well,
I really,
it was reported that she resigned right before
yeah.
they debuted on Netflix, and everybody thought she was going to come back then, but she hasn't yet. Um, and you bring up Rollins, that's a good point because we still haven't got to the whole Punk Paul Heyman favor, and with his hatred of CM Punk, if he, I don't know, God only knows what this favor, what they're going to turn it into to be, but if somehow the favor is, I know Dwayne owes you a favor. I want a title shot, get me in the title match as well at WrestleMania or something. And
I think on Friday we're gonna learn what the favor is. On Monday, he kind of made it seem like he basically he didn't win the Rumble, didn't win the Chamber, and he's not getting what he wants at Mania. And then he said, or is he? What he wants is the main event. Uh, and he
well, yeah,
said,
like that's been rumored as the main event for night one.
and then but he also said that is this contract the contract that's going to get him to what he wants. So maybe this triple threat turns into a number one contenders match. Whoever wins gets a future title shot down the line, or they get inserted into Cena and Cody. It was reported that some people in the back were pulling for Cody, Cena, and Punk night two. But I think on Friday we're gonna probably hear what that favor is, and they're gonna do a contract signing. So if it's any time to pull that out, it's probably now.
Yeah, and then like I said, they needed to, in my opinion. I mean, this is just me, but last year when Cody won the Rumble and Rock versus Roman was rumored to be happening, and the fans swelled up, and they changed it. They've come out and said it that the fans kind of poo pooed on it, and that's not what they wanted. They wanted Cody to finish his story against Roman, so they pivoted and went with that. But there was so much around that between the kickoff when Rock come out there and and he slapped Cody and all that kind of stuff, and it was a week after week after week of the constant buildup, and like I said, going over those matches, there's just, I mean, stuff I'm interested in, but not too much I'm very excited about. So if that makes any sense at all.
Yeah, I really feel like that Cena did not commit to his maybe. I mean, he's announced some dates after WrestleMania, but during WrestleMania is a very important time. It's the most important time of the year for the WWE going to WrestleMania, the biggest show of the year. I really don't feel like he's committed. I mean, he's only done three. He's only committed 3 dates. The
Well,
last two,
in his defense, he's also still filming a movie, and
yeah,
I know he had to fly back somewhere the night after the Chamber, so I think he's giving him all he can with his schedule as it is right now.
I think he should at least do the SmackDown in Las Vegas.
Speaking of Las Vegas, I am very happy. I mean, I don't know how they're going to do it because unless they're taping SmackDown for Friday night, but the Hall of Fame is going to be on Friday night as well, presented from a different place, and I'm glad they're doing that.
I think I seen that started during the afternoon. I could be wrong.
Yeah, the Hall of Fame is starting at 8:00 that night. And I forgot what theater they said it's going to be coming from, but it's going to be a different place.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how they're going to do it at the same time because Triple H is going to be at SmackDown, and I don't know. I know their time zone is a little bit different in Las Vegas. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to
Yeah,
see
they're
how
3 hours. They're 3 hours. Well, 2 hours behind you, 3 hours behind me. So they're on that.
Yeah.
They're on that West Coast time frame. So
Speaking of Las Vegas, I wanted to wait to say this on here, but I'm officially meeting Stone Cold Steve Austin in Las
what?
Vegas.
What?
Uh,
What?
yeah. I'm unfortunately not going to meet CM Punk. It was a whole thing on the damn website, but the most important one to me was Stone Cold. He's a once in a lifetime. I've never met him, but I will be meeting Stone Cold in Vegas. So I'm going to be filming a whole vlog with it. So definitely stay tuned for that.
Well, congratulations. There's a lot of them that I wouldn't mind meeting, and but like going back and doing what I've gotten to do, having Ric Flair buy me a couple of drinks, and and spending all that time I did as a kid with Roddy Piper, I'm content, man. If I was to run into one of them, then great. I'd love to talk to one, but I'm damn sure not paying 25 grand to have lunch with somebody. And
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
well, and I'll tell you what I said about when I first saw that. Anybody that can afford that is probably somebody that could already have lunch with him without having to pay for it.
Yeah, probably.
You know what I mean? So if you've got that kind of money to blow, you're either somebody famous or a millionaire or something, and you could make a phone call. Hey, I'd like to meet John Cena. Oh yeah, okay, he'll be in town. We'll set it up. But no,
Like,
they
even
want 25 grand from us po people.
like they're doing a Hall of Fame thing, priority pass, and you get to take a picture with I get to meet Triple H and all the ones in the Hall of Fame, and it's
Like what, 8
15.
grand or something?
Yeah, it's like I think 9 or 10,000, maybe 15,000. Golly, like I don't know who they expect has that money, and then they're reporting that there's low ticket sales for the Hall of Fame. Well, I wonder why. I wonder why there's low ticket sales.
Now, what are you charging for just those seats? So
Uh,
what do you got? What do we got for the Hall of Fame? We got Triple H, we got the Natural Disasters, Michelle McCool. Who else am I missing there?
Lex Luger.
Lex Luger.
And they're going to be putting in at least one more person. No, there's reports that Kamala might be in or Ken Shamrock.
Well, with John Tenta, Earthquake, God rest his soul, not being here anymore, I would prefer it. I mean, if you want to put, I know Kamala's family just signed a Legends deal with them, so look for some more Kamala action figures coming to a Target near you. But I would do Shamrock just because you've already got one going in there that's
Yeah.
that's no longer with us. I'm glad that they're putting Lex in. He deserves it. I know a lot of people, don't like what happened with Miss Elizabeth, and it was a tragedy, but they were doing that stuff together. It's not like he murdered her. So everybody's got a past, and he is I think he's by far doing the best he can to repent on a daily basis for his past mistakes. I'm glad they, like I said, but I'm glad they put him in there before something happened to him, because in his shape, you never know how much longer he's got left.
Yeah.
Like Vader, they knew Vader had a heart condition, and he wanted to be put in he wanted to be put in the Hall of Fame, and they put him in there, but after he passed, which I thought was sad.
Yeah.
So there's some of these older guys that need to get put in there over the next couple of years. Like I said, Magnum TA is another one. Magnum TA, if you've never seen any Magnum TA matches, just go back and watch the Starrcade '86 match with him and Tully in the cage for the I Quit match. Magnum TA was phenomenal in his time. He would have been world champion if it hadn't been for the wreck. But like I said, I'm sure Coco Beware is a nice guy, but as soon as they put Coco in, I'm like, oh, okay, all right, we done lowered the bar here a little bit. So
He got put in 05 or 06, I think. Did.
I don't remember when. I just, like I said, as soon as they put him in, it's like, But I will tell you, I met the Honky Tonk Man, and some people may know this and some might don't. But I was like, man, why ain't you in the Hall of Fame yet? Which he is now. But he's like, they've tried to do that 2 or 3 times. I'm like, what do you mean tried? He said, I told him no. I'm like, what do you mean you told him no? He's like, they want to give you like $2,500 for the weekend, put you up in some shitty hotel, and then they want you to be able to do whatever they want you to do all weekend long, when I can go make 10 grand in one day going to the other stuff around town. He goes, I told him kiss my ass. I was like, oh, all right, Wayne, no problem. But yeah, like I met him when about 10 years ago, maybe longer. But it was we were talking about that, and I told him, I said I didn't like the way he lost the belt to the Warrior. I said, you had such a historic title run. I thought that was kind of shitty they did you that way. He said, that wasn't them, brother. That was me. I'm like, what the hell you mean it was you? he was like, I told him, I didn't mind dropping the belt to the guy because I knew he was over. He goes, but what the hell do you do with him? He couldn't work. He goes, I told him to let him come out there and, knock me down a couple of times, do his splash and call it a day. He goes, I couldn't have a good match with him. I'm like, oh, okay, well. So if you're happy with it, I guess I'll be happy with it too. Then I'll quit bitching about the Ultimate Warrior.
Looking back at it, it would probably be best if Funky Top Man did win. I mean, maybe had someone else defeat him because the way it ended with WWE. I mean, eventually he came back years later, but if anyone knows the story, how Warrior left WWE years back, it didn't end well.
Which time?
Yeah, he had he is a very different kind of wrestler behind the scenes, I guess you'd say. He was basically going to be the next Hogan or whatever, like a big name like that, but stuff behind the scenes just prevented that from happening, I guess.
Well, talking about the Honky Tonk Man, what a lot of people don't know, that historic title run was never supposed to happen. Yeah, he won the belt. It was only a couple of months after Ricky Steamboat had beat Randy Savage at WrestleMania 3, and that's when they were still running 3 shows a night. You had the world title as the main event on one, the Intercontinental title as the main event on another one, and then the C show was the tag titles. And right after Steamboat won that title, he went to Vince, and because his son was very young and wanted some time off, and as the story goes, Vince looked at him and said, "Are you kidding me? I just put this belt on you." And he's like, "No, my son, my son's young, and I'd like to, take a couple time off and spend with him." Vince's like, "All right." So they went out there and had Honky Tonk beat him for the title.
Who did he beat for the title?
Who's that?
Honky Tonk Man.
Ricky Steamboat. That's what I saw. Yeah, because like I said, Steamboat wanted time off after he beat Savage, and Vince was like, "Are you serious, bro?" He had just put the title on him when they were still running 3 shows a night, and so he took it off of him and put it on Honky Tonk, and Honky Tonk had that historic run.
I mean, some things. I know some things just happen.
And Honky Tonk wasn't great in the ring, but he was a great heel, man. He was a great chicken shit heel.
I always enjoyed him. He was very entertaining. I used to have a lot of back in, I don't know, so like when I first started getting into wrestling, my dad had a lot of VHS tapes. Some of them were in your house, and Honky Tonk Man was on them. And he just stood out. He was very unique from everybody else. Makes you think of Elvis a little bit, but had his own type of gimmick. I always liked Honky Tonk Man.
Well, we've been going about an hour now, so we'll wrap it up here real quick. What match are you looking forward to the most from Mania so far? Is it a triple threat because your boys in there, or is there another one you got in mind?
Probably Punk, because I'm going to be there night 1, so I'm hoping that's for night 1, so I'll get to see it.
Like that's the rumor main event for night 1.
Yeah, probably that match. But besides that, just because I like CM Punk. I like Cody and Cena, but I really hope that the overall excitement for WrestleMania changes. I really hope that they just keep getting the high gear, and it really feels like Mania, because right now it feels like they're building to a SummerSlam almost, or it doesn't feel like WrestleMania season to me. This time last year, it was a lot different. But hopefully things get going, especially for people that's attending. Like, we're charging out the butt to go to the show. I mean, they can at least give us a good build for it. But hopefully things will turn around.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to the triple threat match. I'm interested to see what will happen. Like I said, that Cody Cena match is not going to end in a clear cut victory for either one of them, in my opinion. So I'm interested to see what will happen there if they do add their third person to it. Like I said, the sleeper match for me that everybody mark my words on what is this? March 27th, the sleeper match of both nights, unless something horribly goes wrong, will be Logan Paul and AJ Styles.
Yeah.
AJ Styles, he is what he says he is. He is phenomenal. He still is at his age. Has he slowed down a little bit? Yeah, of course he has. But he can still go out there and give you a hell of a match every time he steps through the ropes. And as much as most of us hate Logan Paul, he's entertaining and he can go. He works hard doing this, and you can tell he puts the work into it. So that's my sleeper match. Like all these matches, it kind of reminds me of like some of the older WrestleManias where they tried to fit so much in. Where we've got the rumored 4-way for the Intercontinental title, the rumored 4-way for the U.S. title, the 5-way for the SmackDown tag team titles. It feels like they're going back a little bit with that. When you'd have a show like, God, I think WrestleMania 3 had like 18 matches on it, and some of them were only a couple of minutes long, but it was to get people on the show. I think, if I remember right, Demolition won their match in like 90 seconds. So there's just, and they got 2 nights. So, like you said, I hope they can steer it into high gear, because last year was, everything that they did with last year leading up to it made people want to buy it, made people want to go.
Yeah.
And this year it's just like, you talk about like, Gunther beat Honky Tonk's record for the longest reigning Intercontinental champion. And, Gunther, yeah, even back then, if he was, in that era, could wrestle circles around Wayne Ferris. But Wayne Ferris was much more entertaining. Gunther just, I don't dislike Gunther. I like watching his matches, but it's the lead up to and the aftermath that just, to me, he needs like a Gary Hart or a Bobby Heenan or somebody like that to make things more interesting. So, but again, that's just me. And, but yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it too. We got Dynasty coming up, and, if the wrestling gods prevail, maybe Swerve can win that title, and, Tony can do what Tony does and like forget about John Moxley for 6 months. And, we'll see. Like I said, I think we'll get the heel turn of FTR in the trios match. So, we'll see what happens. And you got anything interesting coming up this weekend? You guys doing anything?
I think me and Mr. Jacobs might do SmackDown tomorrow. Depends. Sometimes SmackDown's hard to sit through. But we'll see. I might do it just because of the Punk segment. Besides that, this weekend, I still don't think we're doing on here.
You guys got Pod Champs coming up on the World Out of Wrestling this weekend?
Yeah, I forgot about that. We are doing the Pod Champs again this Saturday. Yeah, SmackDown, the Pod Champs, all in the Wide World of Wrestling. And for the All Elite Zone, AEZ Canada is going to be coming back pretty soon. I've doing a lot of upgrading to the show. I think it's time that we bring it back, but also kind of reboot it a little bit. New graphics, new logo, new cast. And that's me and Matt are working on. We've talked a little bit about it. So definitely stay tuned for when AEZ Canada comes back.
All right. Well, look, if you need me on AEZ Canada, I'm gonna have to charge you a 25% tariff to be on there. But if you're importing me, export me, whatever.
Yeah.
But now all that good stuff coming up. Like I said, we follow the All Elite Zone on YouTube for all the kind of good stuff. Follow the Worldwide of Wrestling on there as well. Got my own personal YouTube channel with all kinds of goodies on there at Jason B. Ingram. And if we got nothing left, we got all kinds of stuff coming up. We will see you next Thursday, 8-ish. I won't say 8. We'll say 8-ish p.m. Eastern. And until then, we'll see you next time.